sure you put them in. The recording is officially started, so welcome everybody. We are going to jump right into our introductions. As I mentioned, I'm Jennifer Nixon. I am the host of the SEO and Performance CMS Hug. This is my third year as a Hug leader. I've been using HubSpot, I guess, 9 years now. I'm really excited about that, and building websites for almost 30. That is mind-blowing. And I live just north of Austin in Texas. I am starting a new role next week, so I have nothing to share on that front right now. But you can follow me on LinkedIn and get the updates next Monday. So I am going to now pass it over to Anton.
Oh. Yeah, hi. Anton, my name. I'm not Giselle.
What happened?
Sorry. Mouse malfunction. Apple mouse does not like Bevy.
Yeah, so as Jenny, I'm using HubSpot since around 2016, like 8-9 years, something like that. And I started as a web developer, and I'm just sticking to it. And I've built my very first website at the age of 13. So yeah, I mean, I could digress, but let's keep it to the hug. So I'm located in Germany. I'm the founder and owner of GraphiSpot. I'm a community champion and also one of the developer hug leaders. And yeah, if you want to learn more and connect, you see my LinkedIn profile. So yeah, give it up to Giselle.
Yes, thank you, Grant or Anton. Go to Giselle.
Hi.
I'm like 3 steps ahead of myself. Sorry.
I'm Giselle. I've been using HubSpot since 2014. I don't mainly dedicate myself to creating websites or SEO, but I love it. So that's why I'm here. I investigate a lot about it. I live in Valencia, Spain, and there was a major blackout here. That's why Jen was mentioning that it's so cool that I'm here today. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Optimiza Vendemas. We are a HubSpot partner, and I'm very happy to share the community champion status with all these incredible human beings here. And I'm also the hug leader in Valencia.
Awesome. Thank you. And you can follow Giselle. And we will send out the slide deck and recording. So for those of you just joining, yes, that will happen. Okay, now we have Grant.
Hey, my name's Grant. Giselle, you wrote Dreamweaver on your slide. That's a
Yes.
throwback. I started doing
Yes.
Dreamweaver too. That was crazy. I started with HubSpot in 2012 and joined the community in 2020. The other things I love are running and robotics. I live in South Bend, Indiana, here in the States. And currently I'm running a growth studio called Mountains. And yeah, HubSpot community champion now and inbound correspondent. I love the HubSpot community. That's it for me.
And next, and Grant did fix his slide. I just put it in the chat, but the 2021 and not the 2012 is my fault. So Grant has been using HubSpot longer than I think all of us. Maybe Jillian.
Yeah. Yeah. Last but not least, I guess here, I'm Jillian Strite. I'm the director of research and training at Blue Frog. I've been using HubSpot since 2020. It feels like a lot longer than that, if I'm being honest. I started my career with Blue Frog as a website analyst and SEO strategist. So my heart and soul is in website data, all of the fun stuff there. I am representing the Midwest here today in Iowa. I think Grant's also in Chicago, so good representation here. And yeah, HubSpot community champion. I lead our Des Moines Hug, but we are not just for locals. Anyone can join our Hug community here. Yeah, please follow me on LinkedIn. Awesome.
All right. So now you know all of us. You know who we are, why we're here. we all have direct ties with SEO. We all have website experience, different backgrounds, different AI experience. I probably should have put that on the slide too, like what our experience is with AI. So I think we can kind of jump into that a little bit. Panel discussion and all the hot takes. It's probably going to be on this slide for a while, just so everybody knows. We're just going to have it here. If you want to see us bigger, just put something in the chat and I can make the slides go away for a little bit. But for now, we are going to jump in and start talking about AI and SERPs. So hopefully you all know that SERP is your search engine result page and the impact that AI is having on your search results page. Obviously, huge impact on SEO. So I want to just start. What do you guys think? What's your first reaction to seeing the changes that have unfolded over the last couple of months? I feel like has it been months? Can I put that plural? Like it's happening
Years.
so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to start drawing lines in the sand.
My initial thoughts, it reminded me of when Alexa came in and Siri came in, and we were changing to long tail keywords and more conversational queries. So that's what I'm reminded of all the time. And also when the snippets came in, and then it was the 0-click issue. So I think like we are reliving the loop, but from a different side.
Love that. Great analogy.
Well, and I think it's
So many
really
people-
interesting too with the reaction on 0-click, how quickly they started citing sources and putting links into their answers. I think they realized how much pushback there was on that.
Giselle, that's another element. Now adding your name or your company name or the person you want to be the expert into more elements of, let's say, a white paper article. It's not just at the top or bottom. It's in the quote of what they think about the specific topic. So say you have 5 topics in some article you write. Well, every section of that article better include where it's coming from or whom, because the AI's result might just be that section of your whole thing. No one's going to click through the AI answer. The AI is going to generate an answer that says, based on this person from this place, they said.
Yeah, citing is going to be taken to a whole new level. I think the other thing is misinformation. So I was looking into the SEO and SEO2 certifications, doing research. What are the hardest questions? Because obviously we want to share some tips. It's World Certification Week. You know, how can you better prepare for these? Not just the exams and the coursework, but the changes that are happening in SEO. And the AI, I guess it was Gemini, is looking at some of these websites that have answers, but they show you the wrong and right answers. And so it's like interpreting it as just black and white text. They're not seeing like that they're, 3 paragraphs down. It's the correct answer is it's taking all of the bulleted answers and kind of throwing that into the mix. And I'm really curious. Well, one, I don't think that the question and answer site should exist out there. That really is not a helpful thing, but the study guide, or, there are a couple partners that have really good blogs on like SEO and like how to prepare for the exams. And I think just the misinformation, how are you guys dealing with it when you see either for brands you're working with or yourself seeing things coming up in AI answers that you're not expecting to see?
It reminds me of pronunciation manual on YouTube where they incorrectly pronounce them wrong on purpose. It's like, that's satire. That's funny. But if AI's searching that, it's going to come up as a joke.
It took me a really long time to figure out that those were a joke. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't use YouTube enough, and I was like telling my daughter, like, we could just look it up. And sure enough, I was like, wait, why do all the comments say this is wrong? This is like, yes. Okay. So it's kind of jarring though.
Yeah.
What I think about that is that humans always have the choice to background check what the internet is feeding them. But what I think is cool about AI is that if you have your profile connected, it gets contextual information from you. So it's not going to just give you whatever your keyword search was or your query. It's going to match it to whatever it knows about you, and it's going to bring a specific answer for you. So in that point, I think if you're Googling a disease, everything is cancer because that's what the clickbait or whatever, or everything is always the answer. It's the same case. You need to background check as always, make sure that if you're writing using AI to please background check whatever you're writing. And we love your cat, Julia.
Giselle, I think that's an important point, and the same context always applied to general search engine results for the get-go. I like to use our company name as an example, Blue Frog. If you just type that into Google and all you've been searching for is like turtles and things like that, you're going to get the poison dart frog. But if you've been searching for HubSpot partners or SEO strategy, you're going to get the Blue Frog agency. It's the exact same concept, but now with the world of AI, it knows more about you and what you've searched for way further back in history, or what you like and how you like it, rather than just the last 30 minutes what you've been searching for online. I think the trend that's been going around with that, like, create an action figure of everything you know about me, is actually what is like pinpointing this for people of what does AI actually know about me without me telling it every time I prompt.
I would love to hear more about that from this panel of experiences. I haven't dove much into that because I'm seeing it on the AI side, agents who have specific algorithms, and then you can tie that algorithm to a specific LLM. So, okay, I'm getting the output I want. What about the input? How do I change I like action figure or persona of I've given this persona, well, we understand personas. Asking it from a different persona. Is there a thing that I can do that right now?
It's definitely interesting. It depends on obviously which LLM you're using. Obviously, ChatGPT is one of the most popular that everyone's using. You can edit your account to tell it more information about you, as well as the more you tell it every time you're prompting, I am so-and-so, I am doing XYZ. It knows what you are, who you're writing for, what your background is. The thing I like to challenge it with too is ignore everything about who I am, act like I am this instead. What would you challenge me on in this prompt or something like that?
Yep.
And see how it changes, because it is going to change the outcome drastically.
Is there a thing like within chat where you can switch to a different profile? I have not seen that, which is why
I mean,
like if you're managing multiple brands or something, you probably have to just give it that context. I know with Gemini, because in our house we use Google speakers, and even before Gemini, my daughter and I, like, she would ask it to play music and it would play stuff I liked, or I would ask it to play music and it would play my husband's favorite music instead. And it's kind of like this household thing, right? Like, I think there is confusion about who's asking what questions, and the more clear you are with prompts. And honestly, one of the reasons I stayed away from AI in the very, very beginning, I tried it a little bit, was I didn't want to have to be this fantastic prompt engineer. And I was following very closely on LinkedIn and other AI discussion groups, like on connect.com, about prompt engineering. And I was like, if we have to do all this effort to prompt it, then it's not where it needs to be for the everyday user. Now you can go in and with very little input, you can get a much more accurate answer back, because so many people prompted, so many people laid the groundwork and taught the LLMs. Like, it's not the same. You don't have to be this phenomenal prompt person to figure it out. Like, you can just go in and be like, I'm working on a website for XYZ topic in XYZ industry, help me with keywords. And I mean, it's night and day different than having to tell it, you're an SEO expert, here's what you know, and like following these prompt frameworks. Like, you don't even have to do that anymore. And it's only been like less than a year.
Yeah.
Like
And
Giselle said, maybe you can put on as yourself all of the different personas you individually are. Like when you're in your cancer research mode, or your runner research mode, or your business mode, or your I'm a parent mode.
Yeah.
And there's a couple people in the chat, Kathy and Elise here, who kind of hit it on the head. You can create separate GPTs in ChatGPT to tell it these personas. Now, that's of course a great route to go, especially if you are going to return to that persona frequently, but it's not as ideal for the everyday user, to Jennifer's point of having to kind of build out this person that you have to go to all the time, when it could just be as simple as typing into ChatGPT, I am this, tell me more.
Right.
But that, of course,
Also,
yeah,
something that you could do, and I've did that quite a while ago, was I've typed in, help me create a better prompt for you so you can better understand what I want, what I need, whatsoever. So this could help in some cases, right? So you don't have to think about a specific thing.
Yeah.
And what I've also, let's say, discovered for myself is that once I've used the help me create a prompt for you thing, it generated me ideas that I haven't had think of. And I was like, oh, that makes sense for this specific use case. So yeah, let's include this and that and whatsoever. And yeah.
Yeah, I totally changed mine about like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I even tested it with LinkedIn post, which I hadn't tried before because of all the back and forth on should it be AI or not AI, and nobody even realized it was AI. But I just said I want to write a LinkedIn post about ABC, rambled for like a sentence or two, and then said, what information do you need? And it had like 3 bullet points of things that I wanted to know, and it came back in my voice. I probably changed 3 words in the whole thing and just took out a couple emojis. But it's changed so much. And if you just ask it, so now no matter what I prompt, it's short. I always say, what information do you need to help me with this? And that's the end for everything I ask. And it, especially keyword research, SEO. So bringing it back around, right? You know, what information do you need to get me the answer that's going to be most beneficial? Because sometimes you can over prompt it and you get worse answers because it's following your train of thought instead of bigger. Like Anton said, sometimes it has ideas that you never even thought of or wouldn't have thought of. And I think that is kind of the beauty of working with AI, especially in an SEO context, because you're seeing things from a totally different perspective. So with that, I think maybe going to jump on one of the biggest things that I've seen come with AI and SEO and search results, and that is HubSpot's own blog. And there were a lot of people, not even in the HubSpot ecosystem, just SEO experts, people who analyze, you know, big companies. They're looking at traffic. HubSpot is known for inbound. They created inbound, right? So in this industry, when you're talking about SEO, there are so many people that have eyes on the performance of HubSpot's blog, and there were posts. HubSpot's traffic drops 80%. Like, there was so much misinformation though, in a lot of this. And Jillian just shared the link, and you know, we can dive into some of this today. But it's, yeah, did it drop 80%? But the reason, one, is they culled a lot of their blog. And one of the things that has made my approach to SEO and inbound marketing different than a lot of HubSpot providers and partners is I've never believed in content for content's sake or ranking. And I think that there are a lot of people who took HubSpot's inbound strategy, including HubSpot itself, and approached keywords to gain authority and volume on topics that they really didn't have a vested interest in. And when I say that, I mean HubSpot has, you know, because you're, like Jillian was saying, context, right? Because I'm Googling things related to HubSpot all the time, I could Google something and like HubSpot had a blog for it, and it could be completely unrelated. And I was like, wait a minute, why is HubSpot telling me about, the best time of day to go for a walk with my pet if I'm working remotely or something? It's just like so random.
Yeah.
And so one of the first things HubSpot did with AI, they culled a lot of their blog and they created a page that all of those articles redirect to. And it explains why they did what they did and why they have removed a lot of the content. Because it's what they say, it's a shift from information to influence. And what do you want to influence around? Because that is the difference with AI. It's not just let's put a lot of information out there. It's what do we want to influence? How do we want to control the narrative around our brand? And so all of that information that used to be helpful for them became hurtful because the influence was happening in the wrong areas. They didn't want influence around these random topics that weren't related to their core business. So I'm curious, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
What
that's my little ramble on it. But
what would our recommendations be? I would be curious what our recommendations would be to
I mean,
businesses
my
to
biggest,
do. We're not
What's
HubSpot and we're
crazy?
not working with HubSpot. So
yeah. I mean, my biggest hot take is delete, 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 delete. Like,
They're afraid to purge their content.
yeah.
Here's one thing I always stress to clients whenever they're worried about losing organic traffic. And that is, don't just look at traffic at face value because it's not telling you the full story. One, I'm curious of, you may be dropping traffic and maybe you just went through a redesign, or you did cull out some of your old blog content, or maybe it's just outdated and Google is prioritizing new content. But has anything changed in the quality of leads that are coming through to your website? Has anything changed in the main website organic traffic, or is it mostly your blog? Because that's the biggest shift we've seen even before AI became prominent in search results. It was, the people also ask, or any of those other key features that Google started displaying. It was tanking informational keyword searches, not transactional, not like the commercial intent ones. Those are still very much driving traffic to your website. You just have to switch your strategy a little bit, and you still have to define things. You still have to add to your content what something is, what something isn't. But to the point, Jennifer, you made earlier, you have to be informative. You have to be the one with the thought leadership and explaining your take on something, not just defining it for the sake of content.
Yeah. With regards to the HubSpot blog, they took a turn and decided to diversify their channels, which is so important in the age of AI, because they're not only taking your blog or your website for what you're worth. They are looking for user generated content, what's happening on Reddit, what's happening on Quora, what's happening on social media, what are the reviews. If you're, for example, a SaaS company, G2 or whatever information they can find about you. And with regards with what you were saying, Jillian, it's interesting that if you're trying to work on the top of the funnel queries, you will see a drop in traffic probably. But if you're still looking for intent, if you focus on intent, you will see that the trend goes upward. And if you provide knowledge, provide information, provide value, you will get there. So what I also find that is funny is that if you're trying to, let's say, how do you say in English, to position a new term, you're going to have it tough because AI is not rewarding originality right now. They are rewarding consent. So if everybody thinks you're great, AI will think you're great. And if you're, let's say, trying to position a new word or a new term for whatever you're doing, you will have to get all your community and whoever can to support your idea and get traffic related there. And I saw here a question asked by Autumn that says, my agency is experiencing change as AI continues to take over search results. Our clients rely heavily on organic traffic. How should we approach keyword research to be AI optimized?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think this is kind of what we're talking about now. So I thought I would read it out loud.
Yep, I had the same note. I was like, we don't have to save this one for Q&A. Definitely, I think a lot of great points being made here. And I think one of the biggest things that we can do is focus on our users. What I've seen, the shift in the last 2 to 3 years for me has been from blog to knowledge base. And I've actually built more SEO strategies around knowledge base than blog in the last few years, and had more success with that because I'm writing content for the customer, for the user, for the people who are looking for direct information about your brand to be successful with whatever that product is or service that you're offering. And I think there's a big shift from wanting information to wanting answers. And knowledge base is a really fantastic, it's pre-built. It's one of the quickest and easiest ways. You literally are writing a question as the topic and you're answering it and you're providing supplemental information. You can include videos, you can include images, you can link. The internal linking capabilities in your knowledge base are just incredible. And honestly, that shift alone has prevented a lot of the brands that I've worked with from just seeing a complete drop. And that's how I feel you gain authority within your current user base. Like Giselle was saying, how do you get people to visit the site of new content? Well, you create content that they need, and that's helpful. And you're focused on your user or your customer and not on Google and not on AI. And you're really thinking about how you can be helpful to them. Then your keyword research is around what's the best way to say this? I know what the problem is, but what's the best way to say it? I've even written knowledge bases where I've asked the same question 5 different ways and they're 5 different posts. And they have very similar answers and structures. But
Jennifer, that's a similar thing that I've been explaining it, that as computers become more of a computer, it's allowing and forcing humans to become more human. And so when you think of getting a recommendation, think of the old days when there were like dinner parties. When would you come up in a dinner party as an answer to a question or the expert on a topic? When the people at that dinner party have the knowledge of what you do and what you're capable of, and then that topic during that dinner party comes up, then they as a human just think, oh, well, this company or this person, that I need to bring them up because they're the experts in this field. And the thing they told me, I should tell that this person I'm talking to. It's becoming more human, where your interaction with computers and via AI is enabling you to just be more yourself and just ask like, hey, this thing's on my mind, or hey, I'm working on this thing. I'm doing this thing. And you as a human just need help doing that thing. So
and keyword
you have
research,
to be that. You have to be that expert in that way.
Yeah. So keyword research is evolving from inbound marketing was the keyword. And then there was, long tail keywords. Now it's full on conversational prompting that's happening. And you have to frame it in that context. And you have to understand, use AI to your advantage. What questions are people asking you, AI, about XYZ? What keywords should I focus on in my strategy? How can I address these concerns? Like that.
I think focus groups are coming back.
Yeah.
We're going to start doing more focus groups with your customers, with your ICPs. Have a focus group and give them topics, and then just let them talk about it. Shut up and listen, because they're going to come up with all of the topics surrounding it. And then you can take those topics and turn those into some expertise that you have.
Yeah. And maybe I'm old school because for me, focus groups never went away. But
right. Exactly.
I feel like it did, though, because there were so many strategies around inbound and so much information out there. We didn't have to rely on our own customers. There was so much expertise around it. So I don't know, Anton, you've been a little bit quiet on this topic. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear, like, what is, your approach to keyword research, and are you leveraging AI, and how are you taking that into the next phase of SEO
I
or
mean,
AIO?
I've been a bit quiet on this because since I'm focusing mostly on tech SEO, I'm not that, I would say, profound or commonly using AI for keywords and content creation. But on the other hand, I'm working on my company's blog right now. So, small hint. I'm launching a blog at some point in the near future. And therefore I have to do the keyword research and content research myself. So it's changing for sure, right? Because in the past it was like, okay, how we've already said, like, hey, put yourself in the position of an SEO person and write me some keywords, do some research and such. And now it's, as you mentioned, like way more contextual, more human, I would say. Like, you are having some sort of conversation with the AI and you get all the results from this conversation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm curious from that technical perspective, because obviously we've been talking about the content itself that you're publishing online needs to be more conversational and highlighting that thought leadership piece more than anything. So you're not just answering a question at the end of the day. There for a while when the SERP features really came out, everyone wanted to be the people also ask or that top answered question, things like that. Schema markup became the big thing to add to your blogs, your FAQ pages, things like that. Has anything shifted in that sense and what you should be putting in the background to highlight AI?
There are a few things that you can do. So I've created a slide for this slide deck at some point in the very end. And what you can do is you can allow or disallow. Yeah, thanks. So HubSpot has a robots.txt. So for those of you who don't know, yes, HubSpot has a robots.txt. And this allows you to block or allow crawlers to your whole website, right? And here are just a few very, very simple examples. So, for instance, you want to allow block A, but disallow block B, and therefore you can create more or less knowledge bases as special for AIs, right? So maybe just an idea for somebody. You could create, basically a whole URL structure just for AI and block the human block from all the bots, right? So this is one thing. Another thing, which I see very frequently in the last couple of days, especially, is when you're using, let's say, GPT for generating content, and GPT puts in a lot of hidden characters, so to say. So it replaces spaces with some special code that will be visible as a space to the human, but a search engine or somebody who wants to look into the code could also see this. So this is also something that should be considered, right? And I think that the more we just transition into really working with AI or LLMs, because I think the biggest change or the biggest switch, so to say, was around 22, 23, somewhere around that, where GPT-3, I think, or GPT-2, I don't remember, really hit the main stage, I would say. This is when everybody was like, oh my God, we have AI. What a breakthrough. But actually, AI was present already for years, right? But the mainstream just discovered the whole thing. And I mean, there was a time where Google was like, okay, we will just block everything that is AI generated.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, so
And yeah,
there's a couple questions popping up, and I want to clarify a few things. So Elise asked, "What are your thoughts on LLMS.txt files?" And this morning in the community, somebody posted an idea or a question about adding a dedicated LLMS text file. So I want to clarify a little bit about this bot. And robots text files, because it doesn't apply to LLMs directly. It applies to whatever crawler built the search index for LLMs, which can get really technical and really, really difficult to block or manage effectively. So I think there was a comment in the chat. Chris said they don't really listen to robots files though, right? Thought that came out. Well, it's because they're not really being told in the right way. And I think there's a very highly technical way that you can start to block them, but how could you possibly know all the variations of search crawlers that LLMs are using? I mean, that's a rabbit hole that I don't know anybody has gone down.
Especially right now.
And how you would start to do that. There's a lot of debate on Reddit. I think this is a really big hot take, right? How do you start to block things? Do you want to block search? But it's all about intent. And I think rather than blocking content or AI, you really need to reframe the structure of your approach so that, one, delete content you don't want incorporated into AI answers. So if
Agreed.
you have a blog article about like there are a lot of website themes is a great one. There are a lot of website themes providers in the HubSpot ecosystem who have top 10 themes. And they'll have their own on the list, but they'll have other providers on there. So they're ranking, 10 other themes that they want to be, like, hey, like these are really good themes, and also check mine out. And that was like a strategy for a little while. I don't know who decided that was a good one. Just my hot take there. But it was something really prevalent. And the harm is that you're actually sending the wrong message about your theme, your authority, your brand, right? You're not framing yourself in the context of why your theme is better. You're putting yourself in a grouping, and AI is going to look at that grouping and be like, hey, wait, there's 10 websites saying that the top 3 are, A, B, and C. And that's not yours because you put yourself at place 10. Because you're humble or, you're doing
because humans were going to read it.
Right. And that's
computers.
not what AI is going to read. And the more predominant these types of posts and blog content are, the worse it becomes. It's kind of like this, robot takeover of like aggregation. Before, you just had to rank better than somebody else and be on the first page. And if you did that, somebody would look at your content. But now AI is looking at every site possible on the subject and like aggregating it for the user.
Even the wording we're using, Jennifer, as you're talking, it's like, if you're thinking about results, then stop, pause. don't go down that road. Go back to the top. You have to be an answer. You have to be a recommendation.
Yeah.
How would people talk about you? That's how you have to be. Step one, like Jennifer's saying, delete things you don't want to be a recommendation for.
Right.
Delete things you don't want to be an expert on, like other
Delete.
people's websites. Delete that.
Rule
2,
1. Yep.
structure your data into a flat model, like we've been talking about, of being a Q&A. So step 2 is have H1 tags and then have paragraphs. And then your next piece begins. Anything past that is you giving the LLM more data than you want it to have, or more structure than you want to be an expert on. So have a topic and then have your answer, and then have all of these topics and answers. And then you will then become a recommendation. You will then become an expert on the topics that you include.
Yeah.
So step 1, delete. Step 2, structure it. Step 3, then start to disseminate those things into places or more people, just like, again, you would another human. Share
Right.
your expertise with other people, because then they will show up more places.
Yeah, I actually think the answer for showing up in AI is delete, don't create, and really focus on the core content you have that's good. It's not about creating more.
Agreed.
It's about
The question,
creating
how to create.
Yes, and then taking what you have left and optimizing it. Now, I will say for the robots text, because I don't want to, I don't want to just ignore that. Things that you should be putting in your robots text are landing pages or things that you have gated or guided. Like those things are very real. So I think AI, I don't know how much they're going to respect that, right? Again, it goes back to how do you tell which search crawler is responsible for it? Yes, Pawan. We talked a little bit about LLMS.txt. I don't think anybody wants to hear me try to say LLMS one more time. But
I always think about LL Cool J.
But until it's added to HubSpot natively, like how do we go about, defining that? I'm going to find out if the person who asked that question in the community added an idea, and I'll send it out to all of the attendees so you guys can go upvote if you want to have something like that. But the question too is, how does that get tackled? Has anybody created an LLMS.txt for any sites that they're working on?
Not yet.
No. Anybody in the crowd? Yay, nay, any takers? Okay.
They could just be llamas, Giselle. We could just say they remove the A's and llamas. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I think maybe that evolution will come, but I think that llamas would have to start that, right? It has to be at their level, just like robots.txt was initiated by Google. It wasn't you can't just create a file and say respect it. It has to come from the source. So we need more guidance and instruction from the LLMs on how we're supposed to handle that content. So many things.
And that's a future thing. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
That will happen. And that's like right now, delete your content you don't want to be an expert on, restructure it into very shallow bits of information so that whatever crawler, however it's structured, will only have the content you want it to have.
Yeah. And I did read fairly recently, like leave your existing, like if you have a blog article with videos and all this stuff, leave all that content. That's great for the user and all of that. Structure the top, right? So what Grant is saying, have very flat, this is the H1, this is the answer. This is the H2, this is the answer. And then go into all your stories and explanations and all that good stuff.
What I've also seen with regards to that is that now it's being added like a summary for AI. So it, like, for example, in the blog post, you add like a too long didn't read paragraph so that the AI can understand what the blog is about very quickly. So I think that that's part of the structure now, that they recommend that you do that. I haven't done it yet in our blog, but I've seen that it's recommended right now to do that as well.
Yeah. And I do want to call out, so we are at about 10 minutes. I'm going the wrong direction on purpose, but we are at about 10 minutes out, and I feel like we barely scratched the surface. I wanted to talk about the death of blue links and all these like topics that are just showing up everywhere. Like there's so many people kind of in a tailspin right now with SEO and content. And we didn't address all of them, but I feel like the answers would kind of be the same, right? So all of the things we're seeing, my blog traffic, how do I do keyword? It all comes back to some of the same ideas that we've been talking about. We do have quite a few questions. And I had a couple presenter requests. So if you guys are good with it, I'm going to accept the presenter request if of all this, or if you still want to jump. Oh, I have Lisa. If you still want to jump on stage, add it to the DM. I'll accept the request. You can jump on and talk to us directly. I'm going to go through the Q&A now. So we answered Elise. We also have one from David Roma. So, hey, Dave. Any thoughts on tailoring content to middle/bottom of funnel, action-driven queries, as it seems at least a portion of Google's AI recos are being tailored more towards top of funnel queries?
Yes, do it. If that's the thing you want, do it. Right? It's going to be harder now. You're going to have to be more human. You're going to have the hard conversation. It's not going to be as easy as a click anymore.
Yeah.
Stop thinking of someone search these words and then there'll be a link for them to click because I'm the answer they paid for. No, it's going to be harder. You'll have to be more of a human. So you have to hire people with high EQ to write blog posts as people would want to read them, because that's what AI is going to serve them.
Yeah. So I'm going to share Dave, because David was nice enough, another expert. We've had him on before for the SEO hug, but Google's AI overviews has decreased clicks by 34.5% according to Ahrefs' new study. So this is changing.
They're restructuring their teams internally.
Yeah, this is major. Like this is huge.
So I think, again, it's like the zero click trend. And I think that brands need to power up on brand awareness, brand presence. They also need to think of ads, even if they only had an SEO strategy. So I think now more than ever, you need to have a holistic approach to where your brand is going, just like to have it in mind.
It's hard to think about with the sense of, your traffic's going down, you're not getting as much visibility, things like that. But it's almost like Google's doing some of the hard work for you, where that decrease in click-through, those people probably weren't going to do anything on your website anyway. You should be seeing a higher page per session rate when these zero clicks aren't coming through, because those are the people who, they got their answer. They didn't want any more research. They didn't want any more consideration done. They were good. So it's, what is that experience when they do click through? So to Grant's point, how are you taking that answer to the next level and giving them, okay, I'll just use what is SEO? Okay, if I just needed to know it stood for search engine results, I don't need a 300-word blog post about that. But if I want to know, how do I implement it? I'm going to click through to some of those resources that the AI overview is giving me. I'm going to click through. So what are you providing them once they're there? And then again, when they're on the page, how easy is it for them to click to new stuff or to download more resources or anything like that? So, again, traffic decreases isn't the end of the world. It should be, how are you driving the ones that are coming to the next step of your buyer journey?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also tying in your content in other places. Where are your people hanging out? What communities are you engaging in? Where are you on social? Curating content is more important than creating content, and having the right people sharing your messaging and the things that value and matter are huge. So we've got about 5 minutes left. Kathy has a question. I don't want to miss it. So I'm going to add that one and then we can pick back up. So there still seems to be a disconnect between AI recommended keywords and the volume reported in keyword tools like SEMrush. How do we transition away from that? In other words, change management during this disruptive transition.
I would have the conversation about being a human, and have the conversation about what a focus group would say to you, and have a focus group in of either current customers, because they're the easiest for you, whatever's the easiest group, and then take that report and summary to whomever you report to or whomever is asking, whether it's your boss or your client. The evidence will be in the people, which makes it harder. It was easy with SEO. You could just do this reporting on the computer stuff and these clicks and how many clicks and how many pages. Now it's about humans. And so you're going to have to ask and get feedback and do user summaries and user journeys. And then you're going to have to track those journeys with real people. And so you'll have to summarize that. You'll have to create an environment where you can observe it, and then you'll have to summarize that and report on that.
Also, there's the rethinking of metrics, like the ones we usually used for SEO. So that's part of the game, the change management someone was commenting about. Yes, we need to readdress why we won't focus as much in these metrics as we used to, and why we're starting to see these ones. So everything is changing, and I think the best way to adapt is to rethink everything.
Yeah.
So
which is hard, right? So I'm going to share HubSpot's AI Search Grader, because that's a really good starting point to see how AI is seeing your brand or the brands that you're working with, and really start to understand that. I don't think there is a clear answer forward. I think a lot of people are making assumptions or big bets, and I think it's evolving at such a fast pace that they're being proven wrong pretty quickly. And, you know, HubSpot's strategy with inbound didn't lead them wrong. You know, how to answer questions during a STAR interview, that was still a really helpful blog article that I read, right? But it's not their core audience. It's not who they're reaching, and their traffic has actually increased, and it's higher qualified traffic. So I think they're, you know, yes, they lost 80%. Yes, they were high volume search keywords, but they were completely unrelated to their core business. Not even, you know, secondary or tertiary keywords. They were, you know, 10 layers away. So, you know, when we're talking, you know, how do we approach it? Think about the humans, human first. What are the people that are buying your product or service? What do they want to know? What questions do they have? How can you streamline it? It's not about flooding information. It is really specifically curating the right information so that there is a concise and consistent brand message. You know, backlinks, you know, they're not as critical to have all these sites linking to your content for the same reason. But if you can get somebody else to say the same things you do about yourself, if you can be featured in some way, that is the new backlink, right? That is gaining the authority in a conversational way. Yeah, I mean, this is, I love this. Thank you guys so much, right? For
thank you, Jen.
Thank you
yeah,
all.
jumping
Thank you.
in and being willing, like,
Jen, you
if
did
you guys
great.
know, so I do have resources, just the housekeeping stuff. There's resources. We'll send out the deck. You'll have all of this. There's some takes in here. So if anybody's got to jump to another call, please do that. But we will send everything out. You guys are amazing. Thank you for being champions in the community and helping guide people during these, you know, this is a huge transition. SEO is not the same, and it's almost overnight. So really excited to hear all of your hot takes, and yeah, just we'll keep this conversation going for sure.
Thank you so much, everyone.
you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Camps. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.